Hello everyone, welcome and thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Byungin Kim and he'll be talking to us about how Word Booster came to life. Hello everyone, welcome and thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Byungin Kim and he'll be talking to us about how Word Booster came to life. But before he begins, I'll just go through some quick points with you. So there will be a Q&A session at the end, so save your questions for after the presentation. If you want to ask a question, you can look at your controls and you see there's a little hand, and that's your raise your hand button. So you can use that function to raise your hand and I will unmute you so you can ask your question. So everyone will be muted through the presentation just to avoid background sounds. But if you want to ask a question in the end, then I will unmute you. And if you don't have a microphone, or if you prefer, you can also send your questions through the chat box. In this case, I will read your questions to the presenter. And also, if you have any technical problems, any problems with the sound, just let me know through the chat box as well, and I'll do my best to help you. So my name is Simone. I'm hosting the session today, and now, without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Andrew so he can begin.
Okay, hello, I'm Andrew, the guy who made Word Booster. And thank you, Simone, for passing, for the nice introduction. So, yes, this is going to be a 1 hour talk. So, without further talks, okay, let me start. Okay, so yeah, my name rhymes with a young in case you couldn't catch it, but with a consonant B in the front. But if that's tricky, you can call me Andrew. And here's the Facebook link. You can contact me through, and then these are the 2 pictures of me, so that you can put a face to the voice. Okay, and since this webinar will be about 50 minutes long, and just for my own presentation, I think I need to tell you what items I'm going to tell in what order. Broadly, I'll introduce you to Word Booster in case you haven't tried it before, and show a series of slides that demonstrate how you use it. I think many of you watching this webinar may be curious about my background as well, how I could come up with this idea. So I'll give you a little bit about my background. So I'll tell you what aspects of my background made it possible to create this project. And then after the background, I'll tell you a brief history of Word Booster. And I wanted to divide the story of Word Booster in some order and decide to revolve around what dictionaries I adopted for the project. The first impression of dictionary data is, well, perhaps they don't affect the core logic much, but well, as someone who used 4 dictionaries so far or more, wrong. They differ very much in many aspects, and they take weeks, if not months, to tailor around different dictionary content. So we spent between a couple of months to several months when we adopted a new dictionary, and I could give you a brief idea on how they differed and how they impacted the model. Then I'll discuss how dramatically my fortune has changed since I received this award from Oxford. And the prize added so much credibility to the project. So, well, as a side note, I urge every developer using dictionary content to apply for the context next time, and you'll hear why. Okay, so I thought about doing a live demo, but I decided to show you slides which are as good as the live ones, but safer in terms of presentation delivery. Okay, so if you go to wordbooster.com, this is the screen you will see. As it says, you can get a word list quiz from almost any English news web pages. Okay, the main target of Word Booster is English teachers. So let's say our English teacher user, let's call her Kate, has found an article she would like to share with the students. Note the title here, okay, here. In Hurricane Harvey's wake, we need a Green New Deal, and the picture so that you could follow up with subsequent slides. Okay. After reading the article online, our teacher, Kate, has made the decision to use it for her class. So what she does first, she copies the web address of the article, and she comes back to wordbooster.com, pastes the URL, and clicks on the Go button. Now, she sees this message, wait for 20 to 30 seconds. Well, on the internet, 20 to 30 seconds is infinity, I know, but we're improving on it. But anyway, please don't close the window and wait for the output patiently. And perhaps you could go out for a coffee, and then it'll be ready. So after the article has been processed, Kate, our teacher, Kate, is directed to this page. She can click on the title. It says, in Hurricane Harvey's wake, and so on. Okay, here I didn't intend to show the ads by Google, but just want to make a point of showing you the actual thing. So once she clicks on the title, this is the result page. There are 3 important buttons you can click on. And there is also some text below, and then it comes from the article selected. You see some words are underlined, and they are the ones our system thinks are likely to be looked up by learners. So let's see what happens when Kate clicks on the first button, reformatted text. Okay, so this is the reformatted text file as generated from our service. At the top, the title is displayed. If you type in the link that has myvote.cap, okay, that's my URL. It'll redirect you to the source article in case you want to check it out using your own browser. And then the QR code does the same thing. You can view the article on your mobile phone. Okay, we add pictures, captions, and text to the reformatted file, and then you see there's generous margin between lines and paragraphs for students to take notes. When I taught newspaper articles in English learning centers, I always created reformat articles like this manually. It's not a difficult task to reformat the source text, but it is a much appreciated feature. You can't really expect the students to take notes very well if the article is not reformatted. Okay, since the first page doesn't contain the automatically selected words, I want to show you the next page. You can see the underlined words. See, since the first page doesn't contain the automatically selected words, okay, please take note what words have been selected in particular slides. Calamities, mock, protracted, contentious, fraudulent, and erroneous, okay? So they seem to make sense. I hope they make sense in a way, or they're not nonsensical. Okay, so it was a PDF file we downloaded, and let's go back to WordBooster homepage and check out the words in the next slide. This is the word list PDF file you can print readily. The header looks similar, and currently we are using only Oxford Dictionary for all our word definition and example sentences, although we have tried out the dictionary database in the past. Okay, let me zoom in for you to see better. Okay, let's have a look at the first word, calamity, at the top left. It shows other derivative words, but importantly, it shows the definition and an example sentence, all from Oxford's Dictionary API. This file is in PDF, so you're looking at what it actually looks like when printed. Now, the final category, the final file, vocabulary quiz. You can click on the third button, vocabulary quiz. Okay, let's have a look at the file. For showing a quiz, I thought it's better to view the answer key. So this is what it looks like overall. And we have questions based on word definition and questions based on example sentences. And we also have multiple choice questions. Okay, let's zoom in. Questions number 1 through 3 are based on definition, and question number 4 uses definition and example sentence, and questions 19 and 20 you are multiple choice questions. I licensed bilingual dictionary before and defined 13 different types of questions using it. And for monolingual dictionary as this, I have only 3 types of questions, but I intend to devise more later. Okay, so this is a demo for our service. So to summarize the features of Word Booster, okay, is this. Text goes in and word list comes out and word quiz comes out. And teacher saves time and effort for tedious tasks while creating quality material based on real-world articles. Now, I intend to develop Word Booster as an empowering tool for English educators so that they could do something more valuable, like engaging learners better. So I did an introduction to Word Booster, and let me get to the background, how I came up with it. I'm a native speaker of Korean, not English, and learned English starting in 7th grade. So that's when I learned the alphabet. And I was privileged to get exposure to ESL programs in Jakarta International School, Indonesia, and then I was able to enroll in an American college later. So I know how it is, what it's like to improve vocabulary and especially test prep courses as well. So I am an English learner myself. And I have some experience teaching English full-time for 7 years, especially around learning centers in South Korea. So it was this period that showed me the pain points, the pain points of English teachers that they experience in their work. Okay, so let me be more specific about what it is. Well, what kind of pain points? Okay, first, competition was fierce due to 2 factors: okay, increasing supply and dwindling demand, so to speak. So teachers were asked to do more and more to survive. And in the case of South Korea, people are not very good with making next generation, so to speak. So the number of babies being born each year has decreased sharply during the past 2 decades. And learning centers compete for the fine number of students. And on top of that, the number of learning centers has increased a lot because the economy hasn't been very good, and when people quit, they start a learning center because it requires a very small capital and relatively little qualification. And competition aside, okay, and there's this distorted market demand. South Korea is keen on education, but quite a lot of the investment by parents is based on misinformation of parents, really. Since I'm doing a webinar on Word Booster, I'll tell you about the distortion of education for teaching words. This is my own perception. Okay, about 95% of middle school students and high school students attend learning centers after school, and it is a large interest in South Korea. For middle school students, it is the mother of the student who decides on which learning center to go to after school, and with some distorted information because the marketing, other factors, a lot of them think the number of words given and tested for each class is the most important thing, okay, if not the second best. Okay, not really paying attention to how each word is taught, including, say, explanation on the pronunciation, nuances, example sentences, or a chance to practice sentence writing. In most cases, word list is optimized only for the number of words given, and in most cases, we end up with a list that looks like what I'll show you in the next slide. Okay. Does this look terribly educational? Really, my opinion is maybe not. Only a few translation words, in most cases only one, and no context, no example sentences, no pronunciation. Okay, and what about variation questions or writing sentences using the words? No. Okay, even the order is kept the same. So even the brightest students have complained about this. This is mind-numbing, and I have felt very sorry for them. And it wasn't easy to share Okay, the good feelings about using great dictionaries that I know. So this is what I can tell you about my experience of teaching words in Korean and the pain points around teaching words. So I'll show you how I connected this problem with computer programming. Okay, it's still around my background. Okay, I have a computer science degree from Sogang University in South Korea, and it's only a bachelor's degree, but I was lucky enough to get exposure to various topics in advanced fields, like including natural language processing. Okay, during my time in undergraduate program, not many students could write in English well, so I was asked to translate abstracts to academic papers occasionally, and later I freelanced for translating whole papers in computer science from Korean to English. And one of the clients was a natural language processing guy, and it opened a treasure trove for me later. Okay, the next slide may be valuable to some of the solo developer viewers and startup guys watching this webinar who are interested in English ed tech, because they are what I found very useful as a teacher and applicable in everyday teaching environment. So, well, as I translated NLP papers from Korean to English, I could discover websites as these. And then they were extremely helpful. Some were jaw-dropping, I felt like magic. Using the term extraction site, I could create questions that ask quick key concepts and keywords. So that was something really, really fascinated me. And the scramble eliminator, the second link, separates each word in a given sentence and simply mixes the order. So it's very simple to implement, and even college undergrads could make one with very little real-world program experience, but that site was very, very helpful. I could give a good translation of a sentence and provide the output of that site, and the student could use that as a hint to reconstruct the original sentence. So that could give you some insights into how to build a good service or selling service. And the text-to-speech service is self-explanatory, but I want to mention that it was used for complementing word list, as I showed 2 slides before, and then I occasionally used it for giving word quizzes, just with using sound. So, okay, next, some background about a startup. I didn't really intend to do a startup initially, but I got involved with a startup for a half year in Fulltime. Then I realized that I have a problem I want to solve, and I realized I could make a web service that really solves it. So what it was just a custom phone case printer. I'll show you in the next slide. So it was you upload a file, and then they print a phone case. That's what it was. Okay, it was a fascinating experience for me. So that's about my background. Okay, I was a learner, instructor, and I did computer science, and I did natural language processing, a little bit of a scratched the surface, and then I did some startup. So let's go to the Word Booster story. Okay, a lot of people have their own startup ideas, and I always have my own too, I guess. But something that really triggered me, nudged me, is kind of funny as I look back now. After having been involved with a phone case project for 6 months, I think I worked too hard, and there was a personal event that crippled my ability to work normally. Well, it was a marriage I could do, but then it didn't happen. So I couldn't work very well. So I quit and decided to do my own project. So to become financially successful and so on. And I had seen the source code of the phone case business, and there were some parts I thought, well, I could do better, even though I don't have the real world experience. I think my perspective was too narrow as I look back, because startup is coding is only a part of it. Although it's very, very important, it's only a part of it. But that made me confident. Oh, I could do that. So, and the phone case project was sold for around $500,000 US dollars. And so I was like, why not me? I could do something better. So I had computer science background, my own startup idea, plus some cash, as well as my reliable credit card. Well, too audacious as I look back. So my project was a web-based, first project was a web-based school bell using a Raspberry Pi, but with a short sight to business aspects, I had to stop at the MVP stage. And well, before I go into, okay, wait, sorry, I forgot something. I wrote the requirement documents and I also developed for Upwork.com at a web agency and for the project. And milestone after milestone, they want to charge more for the school bell. For the last milestone, they asked for $20,000, to which I said, well, no. Plus, hardware is expensive to start. You need to get the product certified by the government offices, and one mass production batch has a minimum order quantity, which costs a lot, and the budget could go up well beyond hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then I didn't have that kind of money, so that halted. Next, and I created what later became the Word Booster project. It was Quiz Booster, I called at first. And I thought of it as a promotional tool for the school bell project initially because it's just software, and I thought it was an easy one, but no, not really. Then I re-evaluated it again after the project halted, the school bell project halted. It looked like a promising one. So when I started QuizBooster.com, that's 1.5 years ago. Okay, now almost 2 years. So what it first looked like is this. It doesn't look as glamorous as it does now. And this is actually a Microsoft Word format. Okay, I want to show this for some of discussions later on. Okay, so I'll go to the dictionaries. Okay, since the webinar is about dictionary API, I'll just dive into the themes. Okay, so the first one I used is from Pearson's, okay, the Longman brand. My first learner's dictionary back in high school is Longman's Learner's Dictionary, paper version. And the experience that my first English monolingual dictionary by Pearson was is just awesome. First exposure to a monolingual dictionary is very, very nice. Okay, I love the content. And then I learned that Pearson provides that data free of charge. Okay, well, I'm telling something maybe Oxford guys may not like, but still, it's how I came. Okay, it's free of charge, and I haven't really checked them out recently, but from what I experienced, from what I know, Pearson is one of the first dictionary publishers that provide API service on the internet free of charge. The problem is, well, as you can guess, we made a burst of API calls and getting response from the server took quite a time. Okay, we made about 20 calls or more per article request, and I had to budget about 0.5 seconds to 2 seconds in the worst cases, and getting, if you do the multiplication, it's like maybe it could be up to a minute. Okay, on the internet time, it's forever. And you could ask, maybe you could do caching, and the licensing term prohibit caching. They provide data already for free, and being a good citizen, I didn't want to break the requirements. So I showed the material to my colleagues, ex-colleagues, and then they all advised me to add an English-Korean dictionary, and otherwise it wouldn't sell very well in the local market. So I went out to find an English-Korean dictionary, which I will describe in the next slide. Okay, so it was our Donga Prime English-Korean dictionary. Okay. The great thing about it is, okay, there were two aspects. Okay, very low cost for startups. I love them really, and it was offline data really. With the data, I was able to pin down how I define different question types. So I defined 13, and when I had that, and with a word selection, algorithm and question making logic, I filed for patent, and I got that granted just last month. And but there are also two issues. Okay, it's something they informed from the beginning. Parsing the content would be difficult, meaning, okay, that the content they provided was a representation of the printed dictionary, and it was not made for online processing. So the dictionary really looks beautiful in print, and with a lot of italic, bold, and a lot of symbols and even pictures. Make it tailored for impactful delivery, but it was difficult to parse the content that would really satisfy me as a potential user, okay, as an ex-teacher. So we spent about 6 months trying to really parse it, and then I thought maybe I shouldn't really do this anymore. And if I'm given, maybe I will need to spend 6 more months, but then I wouldn't dare. Although it could become a very good barrier into the market. Okay, and here after adopting it, the speed issue was somewhat resolved with the offline dictionary database. But then the monolingual dictionary was still API based, so I still had this speed problem. So I was on the lookout for something that could really help. And then I found this dictionary, which was, Cambridge's. Okay, I use Cambridge's Advanced Learners Dictionary. Okay, they call it in short CALD. Okay, it was just awesome. Okay, it's an offline database. It's a fantastic learner dictionary. Okay, so the performance issue was gone now. I could generate very quickly. Some of you may ask why it takes still 10 or 20 seconds. Well, it was slower at that time. Okay, okay, but just like everything else, it came with a catch, which was okay. I was producing output in Microsoft Word format, and then they said, well, make only in PDF format, no Word, because of copyright issue. They told me they had a lot of pirate issues, and they required that I put copyright info on each page. That's why I have that now. And then with the content, I pinned down all the content. Then I also had some issue, which was being a learner's dictionary. It had lots of missing words for results. Okay, I used authentic material, which was what native speakers of English used, and then a learner's dictionary has maybe 50 or 60,000 words, and a lot of words could be missing. So, well, and then later, when I used Oxford Dictionary, that's resolved the issue almost perfectly. So next, okay, finally we have, yes, Oxford English Dictionary API. I was introduced to Oxford Dictionary API program during their early adopter stage, and then the result, okay. Well, API, still had the speed problem, but then I asked them, can I cache? All other dictionaries, they say no. Okay, we don't allow that. And generously, they said yes, we can. It's like really privileged. So it's like having best of two worlds. Best of two worlds, really. It's like API. If you compare API and offline data, okay, API calls cost low, but the speed is low, and offline data costs a lot, but the speed is fast. And then API caching, cost is low and speed is fast. Okay. Well, the current problem I have, not really a lot as is. I'm very happy, but my only complaint is, well, there aren't many dictionaries available in this format, like English Korean or English Chinese or Learner's Dictionary. So that's my only complaint. But then, yeah, if I think of my target as a native speaker of English, this is like I have found the perfect solution. Okay, so so far I have discussed, I presented around the dictionaries. So from this point, I'll tell you some hardship I had to go through personally, and then from this point I hope solo developers and start guys could relate. Okay. Okay, this is winter. Okay, this could be something something about things I wish I knew. Okay, WordPress hasn't changed very much since last December, except that we adopted Oxford Dictionary. Okay, it's kind of long. The basic reason is I didn't write the code, but wrote only the requirements for developers and outsourced developers. And then there was only so much I could spend on outsourcing without generating revenue. So I ran out of funds, and I introduced my product to some people who couldn't help, like investors. And then, being inexperienced in such a task, this is my first serious project. I found not many people who are interested. If I tell now, then it's weird. And then user registration was slow, and then just hoped somebody would somehow discover our service and help somehow. And while leaving WordBooster online as far as I could, I started to find ways to get out of the depressing period by learning to code myself, starting with the Python, JavaScript, CSS, and so on. And so I want to develop a project that could readily make traction. Okay, something similar to the phone case I did. So from January this year till May, I think I spent most of my waking hours learning to code. And when I discovered that Oxford Dictionary API was having a contest, I made this request to my developer guy to include Oxford's data, and I applied for the contest. So I already had the logic and everything except for the data. So and then the license for Cambridge was expiring soon. So I thought maybe I could just do it. And then, yay, I won the prize. It's a surprise, really. And it changed a lot of things personally and for the project. First, well, my pitching deck changed, of course. I could talk about it to people. And when I showed that modified version to investors, from the point, people took me more seriously. Okay, eventually, Chanje Education of South Korea came in with the funds, along with government R&D funds, and yeah, it was a big change. So if I tell you about Chanje, they are the largest K-12 text publisher and printer in South Korea. And then with that, with the help I had, I could go to this EdTech Asia Summit 2017 in Vietnam, July. So that's about 6 weeks ago. And then this, the man on the right is me, and then explaining WordBooster to other attendees in the EdTech Summit. And then I got this picture from the Facebook page, EdTech Asia. So there. I networked with the people. Okay, I'm just starting, and I was desperate. Okay, if I don't meet people, important people, who I could partner with, it's very bad. It's going to be very bad. And so surprisingly, a lot of people showed interest. So I was able to do subsequent investment discussions with the Vietnamese accelerator, and then now one company is demanding exclusive distributorship in a few countries in Southeast Asia. It's a very different story. And then a few CEOs I met there, founder and CEOs, they are demanding, okay, please release the next update API for API service ASAP. And then, in January, I was coding, learning to code on Udemy to make something quickly in the basement. And then now, just within half a year, the scene looks very different. So that's just last month. And now, okay, discussions with prominent accelerators, startup accelerators in South Korea. And I'm going to Singapore for a B2B deal discussion. And then I'm talking with the Chunja Education for another B2B deal. And I hired a CTO full-time. And I hired a COO, someone with an MBA degree from top-notch college in South Korea. And I heard also Korea's top-class UI UX and service planner full-time. So this feels like, well, is this a joke or some made-up story? But well, I don't know. It's what's real. And I have hired some more developers. So we have a major update by the end of October. When I reflect, I think timing played a crucial role in this series of luck. And personally, Oxford Dictionary was the first sign of all these events. Now, okay, things I wish I knew in this slide. Okay, so something. Okay, this is for solo developer guys, okay, doing something good with the dictionary API in general. This is not specific about Oxford Dictionaries. Okay, I know, okay, I am very, very sure you're building something because you have an inspiration, you have an idea, and think it is a great idea. But this is something I wish I knew. Okay, everybody you want to meet for help will ask you this question in various phrases, very different shapes of sentences, but essentially they'll ask you this, okay, who will pay for your service and why? Because it has to stay afloat, even though it's a great idea. They'll ask for marketing strategy, pricing, pain points, etc. But that boils down to that question, okay? And I wasn't aware of that problem, but I just solved I just want to solve my own pain point, my own problem as a teacher, okay? And that was really bad. Not having this sentence was very bad because I was not specifying the market, pricing plan, etc. And then, yeah, and then I could not define the service, accordingly. I was one week I was developing it for maybe teachers. The next week I was doing it for learners. The next maybe newspapers. So having who will use my service and who will actually pay for it and why, it really helped. I think that's something I wish I knew. And then to attract people like workers and so on, I found that I need to have a vision statement and mission statement, okay, and I need to think about this in advance. Yeah, in this context, okay, thinking of vision and mission, okay, dictionary API is just one of the many tools available to you, for you, and then this is a webinar around Oxford Dictionaries API. It'd be silly just to think in terms of the API itself, okay? And so yes, and I was too shy to meet other people and felt very discouraged when a couple of ex-colleagues didn't think highly of my service. So the actual traction is more from English-speaking countries such as the US, the UK, and so on. And the users I met in South Korea, they're not as keen. And yeah, maybe looking back, I probably should have run ads for English education experts globally first, then maybe that could have helped with my project. So why? And this is the other side of the coin about which things I wish I knew. Okay, this is the other way of saying it, perhaps. But then things I could tell you why I think it is good. Okay, it is. I solved my own problem while I was a learner and a teacher. So that's that means there are people out there who are having a similar problem, meaning learners and teachers. And so yeah, I really want to build something as a real user. So now what I call is I'm the requirement guy, because there are people, developers, I hire them because they're much better than I do, and then designers and service strategy guys, they do things much better than I do, but I just call myself requirement guy. And this is one thing why it is well received. So I told you about things I wish I knew, and then some tips I could share about hiring people from hiring freelancers. The largest one is Upwork.com. I happen to be using. So I want to share some tips or my experience. Okay. The biggest thing is how to choose freelancers. They all sound good and nice, and because they want to sell their service, like write contract with you. You could see their comments, reviews, and portfolios. But what I rely on is test results they provide and how they write, because it's about how they actually communicate. There are so many people who aren't very good at communicating with the written form. They easily run out of. It's really difficult to communicate in context. So, and then how I also look at how responsive they are in communication, because sometimes some freelancers take hours or even days to come back to you, and if that happens when your system is down, it's not going to be very helpful. And the ones I feel a little bit confident about hiring the freelance for maybe a week or so. I do a little bit of work, maybe I budget about a couple $100 or more for working together before I really commit for longer term work. And if you compromise for English proficiency of the freelancer, your hiring pool becomes much larger, and they typically tend to, my own experience, they typically tend to work harder because a lot of them are aware of their deficiency, so or lack of proficiency, so they try to make up for it by working harder, and then you also get better rates. And this may be surprising. Okay, I never met my CTO in person. He is the guy who developed the PDF file and then also a lot of the work at the back end. Okay, and I don't know his voice, but we met at Upwork.com, and we've been working together for a year and a half. So yeah, if you can meet someone very nice, and then as you interact together for quite a while, you get to have the feeling what this person is like. So this is something I can tell you about my project at this moment. And if you hire through that, you save a lot on the real estate cost, because you don't need to have a bigger office space. And then by not having the person next to you, by not meeting, okay, you can focus more on actual work, less on noise of interaction, like, is this guy dissing me, or that kind of things. So it also has some unexpected benefits. And then if you hire from the beginning, then you're forced to have documents for your work. So I have documents for requirements from the very early stages of WordBooster, and then maybe that's true for some bigger organizations, but then for a startup like me, yeah, it's something additional benefit, so I can look back later. And if you want to hire through that, writing well really counts. Yeah, so that's what I think I can share about tips on hiring. So, oh yeah, that's the presentation part. Maybe some of you may notice I prepared the presentation a little bit in writing, and maybe some of you noticed, so that I wouldn't deviate a lot. But that's how I prepare. And there's Q&A session we could do together. Yes.
Thank you very much, Andrew. That was really interesting. It was really fascinating to learn about the story behind Word Booster. So yeah, we can proceed to the questions, but I will start with some questions that we received through the chat. So the first question, Andrew, is about your competition. Have you got any competitors?
Oh, yes, actually I do. The idea of Word Booster seems new to a lot of people, but then if you know a little bit about English education and how to learn, what words to teach, what words to select, and then a little bit about natural language processing, then the basic idea behind it is simple. So I know two companies just in South Korea. Okay, they are startups too, but then I know there are two, and one of them I met in person already. And then there's also one major competitor, I think, from Holland, the Netherlands. Okay, they have two artificial intelligence guys, two linguists, and so on. So yeah, I do have competitors, and even Amazon Kindle has a similar feature. So yeah, I do have competitors, and then you'll see. I'm very certain you'll see many more like Word Booster in the near future.
I suppose it makes it all the more interesting if there is competition out there.
Yes.
The next question, Andrew, is: do you think you will offer this in other languages eventually? So, for instance, if someone wanted to learn Italian through Word Booster.
Oh, Italian. Oh, yes. Thank you for the question. Italian. I guess I could, but then my experience as a language learner and teacher is restricted to English only, and by now. So my best schedule would be once I feel I have stabilized with English, then I could go to other languages like Italian or German or other languages. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, how do you decide which words to be included in the quiz?
Oh, which word to... Okay, thank you for the question. This is the most frequently asked question indeed. How do I decide which word to use? Well, this is one of the very basic things. If you look into vocabulary teaching, okay, they all say if you look at how often some word is used, then most frequently displayed words should be taught first. And then if you think the other way around, you can tell what words to include first. So that's how it is that all the words are selected. Then you probably, if you're a student user, you can already see the selection is not terribly good. Some of the words you want to select, some of the words you don't want to select. So there has to be some customization. Okay, so that's how I see it, and then that's going to be included in the next update. And anyway, I went a little too far from the question. Anyway, that's how words are selected.
Thanks, Andrew. And the other question I've got here is very similar, so maybe you've already answered it, is how do you get your word lists?
Oh, well, it's the same question and same answer. So yes, basically, we parse the words, and then we analyze all the data, and then use what's called the big data and a little bit of artificial intelligence sneaked in, and that's how it is. If you combine the previous answer and this answer, then you can see how it is done.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of the same question. And another one I've got here is, could this eventually be applied to books as well as websites one day? So could you generate a word list based on a favorite book if you use it through something such as Kindle?
Oh, yes, of course. Actually, okay, well, sorry, thank you for the question. It could be used, definitely. I'm using website news articles because it's actually more difficult to do news articles than pure text, meaning books. I decided to use articles because it looks more attractive using titles, images, and the length as well. And books, for sure, no problem. I could divide by sections, pages, and so on, and give that. And actually, I'm in talks with my first investor, Chanje Education, to develop exactly the same model you're telling. Did I answer the question? Yes. Yes.
I think you did, yeah. At least from as I can understand, you did, yeah. Okay. We do have another one here as well. How to create questions out of the dictionary content?
Oh yes. Thank you for the question. I expected this one as well. From dictionary content, I would suggest you to try it manually. Then you can see it instantly, like a snap, really. Because the first type of definition, it's very straightforward. It's very intuitive. But then for example sentences, it's a little bit more tricky. But then think about it. It's simple text replacement for the word in the example sentence. So that's easy. And multiple choice, well, we give similar words and then scatter that as an option, and then and maybe some antonym as well, and then they are generated in that fashion. So once we have the text itself, then we can just give it in PDF. That's how it is done.
Thanks, Andrew. Yet another question, and I'm getting a lot of very positive feedback on your project. So people are saying, well done on your project. And
thank you.
So next question is, thanks a lot for the presentation. Did you always work full-time on this, or was it a side project for a while? How many hours did you work?
Oh, yes, full-time. Yes, I worked for this full-time for a year and a half, but then for maybe for a couple of weeks off, I'll take a week or so to do some translation work and so on. So yes, it was a full-time job, drafting requirements and then meeting people and testing the result, and that lasted for a year and a half. Yes, and side project, I don't have a side project now because this requires full attention. Yes, as you see, as I hinted a little bit at the end of the presentation, I've been hiring people, meeting with investors and business partners and so on, and also preparing for this webinar. So I've been very, very busy, and then it requires full-time attention now, and there's no other project now.
So it's very full-time now.
Yes.
There is yet another question. So what skills did you find that you needed that surprised you, technical or otherwise?
Could you tell me the question again? I didn't get the verb.
So the question is, what skills did you find that you needed that surprised you, technical or otherwise?
Surprise. The surprise component. My understanding of the question is, what skill was necessary, and then it overwhelmed me, right?
Yeah, I think it's they are asking what you never thought that you would need for this project, but it ended up
Oh,
that you did.
oh, yes, yes. It's I think what surprised me most is, well, the most important skill is writing. Okay, writing, and also networking. Okay, I never thought networking would be required to this degree, and then also I I thought developing would be sufficient, but then no, I really have to know the business skills like marketing and marketing plan and things like that, things that MBA guys know. So those are the things that surprised me or overwhelmed me, and yeah, those are the ones I think. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And there is also someone asking, what's the prize for the first place in the Oxford contest? So they want to know what you got, Andrew.
What I got for prize for
Yeah,
Word Booster?
as winner of
Oh,
the competition.
okay. The price of the okay, price of the contest. You're saying
Yeah.
price.
Yeah,
The
the
price.
Oxford Dictionaries competition.
The prize is a mug cup I got and a T-shirt, and then well, those are only symbols. But then the real prize is people take my project more seriously than before. That's the real one. Yes.
And there was also access to pro level account, I believe.
Yes. That I forgot. Yes, it's very important too. Yes, that's very helpful.
Another question, if you're still up for answering another
Sure.
one. What have you learned about teamwork?
Oh, what I have learned about teamwork. Oh, yes, that's very interesting one for me because I never met my CTO before, and yeah, I don't know his voice yet. Uh, I guess it's about uh, taking the person as an equal partner, although I'm leading it or I'm initiating it, and then sharing the fruit together, perhaps because I am very generous about what we will share in the future, and and there was this event. Okay, I think this is about teamwork. This Vietnamese investor wanted to replace the CTO because he's far away, and I can understand that. Really, it's an unusual arrangement. Then I said, well, no, I will keep him. I don't want to, I want to suspend this discussion because I really want to work with him. So, and then he's still working very hard, and then I can really see the project. So it's about trust and then really relying on the person. And then I also tell a lot of things about what's happening around the project, who I met, and what's going on, and some of the important issues with him. I share with him. So yeah, that's how it works. And he also believes in he also believes ed tech is really something very important. So we share similar values. So if I come back to the keyword of teamwork, we share similar values, and I really trust him, like someone I have known very long, and then he works, and then he works very hard for me. So that's what I think as teamwork with this friend, Mr. Mikhail Lapsin.
Cool. And also, what did you enjoy the most about this experience?
Oh, thank you. The best experience is, well, I have new experience almost every day. That's what I love. And then among them is I meet new people, interesting people who share similar ideas. So it's not like I bump into some stranger, and then no, I told you I have been an English teacher for 7 years. So the kind of people I can meet are really restricted. Like at best, educators and mostly students and their parents. Then now I'm meeting developers and all sorts of smart people around the world who are actually making interesting services on their own. And then also people from Oxford as well. I hope I could meet them in person in the near future. So meeting a lot of people is the best experience, I can tell you.
And for us, getting to learn about Word Booster was certainly very enjoyable. We're all big fans of Word Booster here. And
Thank you very much.
And I'm getting yet more praise for your presentation, Andrew. So someone says thank you, and that it was a very inspiring talk.
Thank you. Yes, I'm happy you find it inspiring.
I did find it very interesting, even if I knew about it before.
Yes.
So I think this is all we've got time for now. But I want to thank everybody who asked questions, and you can go on asking questions on the forum, as I was saying. Thanks again for presenting, Andrew. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed it a lot. And thanks, everyone. And bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.